Let's get started. Thank you. Good morning. Hi, Chen, George, Ruti, and thank you for joining this meeting on Monday morning. Hope you had a nice weekend. Hope you had good Easter too. It was a beautiful weather. Although it's a little bit too hot for me, but it's
Yeah,
okay.
it was.
But believe it or not, hey, this is April already. This is the second quarter of 2026. Believe it or not, like I can't imagine, or I can't believe that the 3 months has already passed by. But April is a good month to do real estate because the weather's nice and people are more in the mood to buy and sell. And hey, I can see that some of the activity in the office already pick up a little bit. Actually, not just a little bit, quite a bit. We have six closed escrow last week. We had seven new listing and eight in the escrow today. I mean, pretty
Wow.
good for this week. This is a good time to start your engine and do some business for before it's too late. Okay. Uh, all right, and this week we have Brandon Serency for the affiliates spotlight. So I'm looking forward to that. But before that, let's introduce the other guests, other affiliates, I should say. Let's begin with Nancy. Nancy Chen from Lawyers Title. Nancy.
Good morning, Peter, Michelle, and everybody at the company. We're very blessed. We have good weather, we have activities, and I think real estate is picking up a little bit. I can feel that. I have more questions, and people are telling me they have listings, and I have a couple agents diligently farming. And I think farming is the key. If you don't have activities right now or something that's going to bring you a transaction, you need to sit down with me, or you need to sit down with your office or whoever you're using and think of a strategy to at least spend a couple of hours a day. I think that's already good enough to connect, to give them information, to be helpful, and to be a resource for their real estate needs. So you do have a lot of backup, a lot of people here. They're willing to help you. So reach out. And I think, I've been in business 44 years, and I still think farming is the key. I'm talking to you guys. This is farming. I'm talking to Peter. I'm talking to John, Catherine, because that's how you connect with people. If you're not having a conversation, well, I know AI, I know technology, I know Facebook, I know Instagram, and Xiaohongshu. All of that is useful, but I think the personal connection is still the best. So please sit down with somebody, plan your second quarter. So plan your second, third, fourth quarter. If you plan now and have activities, you're going to have a good second, third, and fourth quarter. And again, you're going to have a great holiday. So reach out. I don't mind. I have time for you. So let me know. Thank you so much, Nancy Chan, Lawyer's Title. Thank you, Peter, Michelle.
Thank
I got to
you.
run. I'm going to head
Okay.
onto the freeway. Okay.
All
Thank you,
right.
everybody.
See
All
you
right.
next
Thank
Drive
time.
you.
safe, Nancy.
I
Yeah.
will. Thank you.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye. Bye
Bye.
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 Okay. Next we have John Wax from Snap NHD. John.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, Peter and Michelle, for allowing us to be here on the call and to be able to assist your clients and your agents and be here as a resource. The whole thing is about being a resource and everything. Yes, this is my birthday month. I start the second quarter. This is the time when business is popping. People are making decisions. We only have another month, 2 months maybe, before they're going to be making changes. They're going to go on vacations. They're going to need to get into maybe new living situations. So touching base with them is the best way to go. Just a little bit about me. I'm coming up on 32 years in the business. I'm here to consult with you. Like Nancy said, we are part of your resource team to make you shine, to answer your questions, your clients' questions, so that they're not confused and they feel comfortable that they chose you and the team that you've selected. The other thing is, remember, the information, I know Brandon's going to get into a lot of different stuff, but just a little bit about Snap NHD. We own all our own data, including the tax, and it's important. You should add the environmental report because you don't want surprises. Surprises cause lawsuits, and it's only a little bit more. For you guys, it's $84.95. It's a special rate for you guys. The other thing I wanted to say is we're backed by $100 million of E&O, so enough E&O to protect you. And I have the backing and the team behind me to help you answer those questions. If I can't, which is very unusual, but it happens, I will bring them in and we will support you as far as that goes. I did send an article to both Peter and Michelle today about the difference between the California Fair Plan and private insurance, which they're willing to share with you. If you want me to share any of those articles that you can use on your social media or send out to your clientele, that would be awesome. I'm here for you. And the other two things I want to remind you is you are required to provide for a residential property lease the renter's report. And the renter's report is a flood zone only report, and it is required for residential leases. I do have commercial guys that use it as well. And two other free items for you. The property tax estimator. I've used it on the phone. I've showed clients on the phone. I'd sit down with you and show you, but you can find out on any property what the supplemental taxes are on the property and in real time, as long as you have access to the internet. And then lastly, the hazard preview. We're the only ones with it. You don't click a link and it takes you somewhere where you don't know who's doing it. We will do it once you go to our website, and I'll put it in the chat, and just put in the property address or APN and push start. On the right-hand side, in-out determinations for fire, flood, earthquake fault, seismic hazard information done by us, and you know ahead of time what you're getting involved with and how to consult your clients. I am blessed again to be a part of you, John Wax with Snap and HD, and let's kill it. Let's make it happen in the second quarter. Let's make it happen in the second quarter. And again, I'm blessed to be here. My information will be in the chat. And thank you so much.
Thank you, John. Hey, John, you know, a lot of agents ask me about how to calculate the tax prorate and also what the supplemental tax issues. How do they inform the client? Maybe next time when you're on the affiliate spotlight, you can explain that.
I would love to do that.
Yeah, that
very
would be
simple.
Good topic to tell the agents.
Absolutely, I would love to share that.
Okay, appreciate that very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
Have a great week, everyone.
All right, thank you. All right, next we have Kanita Sugars from HomeGuard. Kanita.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. I hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. I sure did had a great weekend. I didn't want it to end, but it's back to work, right? I just wanted to give you guys a little reminder. I know earlier I heard the conversation about AI and social media, and all of that is all great. And I feel like a lot of agents, because social media is so big and AI is so big, they're digital technology as far as business card, they're replacing the hard copy of the business card with something digital. It's blink this, it's scan this, it's QR code this. But I just want to remind you, your target audience is everybody, right? My father is 72 years old. And if he's in the market to buy a home and you tell him to pull out your phone, his phone, to scan a QR code, you're not going to get his business. So I'm just saying, please remember that you're in the industry. We're all in the industry where we serve all generations. So as antiquated, if you will, that a business card may seem, I think it is still important. So if you need to re-up on your business cards, go ahead and do that. This is your friendly reminder. Just in regards to HomeGuard just came out with some very exciting things. Me and Michelle are actually going to be setting up a training here pretty soon. And I'll give you a tidbit of some of those new changes that are coming. So our VIP has changed. Before it used to be by a home inspection, by a termite inspection, and then you could get either a pool roof or sewer lateral for free. Now, it is buy one, get one free. So all you have to do is purchase a home inspection, and then you either get a termite roof pull or sewer lateral for free. Now, if you still needed a termite inspection, instead of it being our old price of $95, it is now $45. I asked my CEO, I said, man, we're giving away the house. Is this coming out of my paycheck or what's going on? And he said, no worries, Kenyatta. It's not coming out your paycheck. I said, he said, we're just, the competition in Southern California is very thick. We want to make sure that we maintain competitive edge and we do not lose the quality of service. Something else that I want to let you know quickly is that now included in our written reports, as you know, sometimes those reports can be very cumbersome to walk through with your clients and they may get a little confused. Well, now HomeGuard is including a visual summary in our written reports. So in the final email report that you receive, there will be a link. That link will have a customized visual picture of the home that we inspected, and you will be able to click on a link and the inspector will come on a video and highlight the key findings. So if there's a huge termite problem somewhere, he's going to zoom in on that video. He's going to say, hey, this is an immediate action we're calling out, and you're going to be able to see. It's really hard to argue with an actual video. So HomeGuard is providing you with more leverage as you represent your buyers and you try to help them seal the deal. So I'll be talking more about that in an upcoming training. Thank you so much. I love the partnership and I'm here for you. I will drop our new price sheet in the chat as well. Thank you so much, Peter.
Thank you, Kenyatta. When is your training going to be?
We have not scheduled it yet, but we'll get it on the calendar. Michelle, okay. I'll send you an email today.
Yeah, because I didn't see anything in the April calendar. So
it'll be in May.
In May? Okay.
Yeah, because we're pretty booked in April. Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. All right. Michelle, do we have any affiliates in the training room?
Yes. Just a second.
Yolanda?
Yeah.
Yolanda? Okay.
Hi, Peter.
Hi, Yolanda. I know you.
How are you? Hello, hi, Tan, George Realty. I hope everybody had a wonderful and beautiful Easter weekend, but so excited. This time of year is a busy time. So realtors get busy because income tax time, people go do their taxes, and seniors find out, oh, we have this tax shelter or this tax shelter because they want to sell. First-time buyers realize, oh, we're paying too much taxes. They need a write-off. They need a tax shelter. They need to purchase a home. So we always get a surge of business right now in April around income tax time. So I'm so excited. Let me know if you need anything. Yolanda Martinez Arenas, WFG National Title Company, on my 44th year in the business. So I've seen the cycles. So let me know if you want tips or ideas on what to prospect. Wishing all of you an awesome and productive week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Yolanda. Thank you very much. Okay, now we come to our affiliate spotlight today. Brandon Saransky from First American Title. Brandon, go ahead.
Thanks, Peter. Good morning, everyone. And thanks again for having me as the spotlight. So a couple of things that I wanted.
Uh-oh.
Got frozen. Saransky is off the screen now.
Okay.
Oh, he's coming back.
Breaking up.
I just out. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Am I back?
Yeah, welcome back.
I don't know why my internet went in. Okay, so what I had talked about was that I wanted to go over this new law So AB 1455, if none of you know, this was passed back in October of 2025. And really what this is it's the 5-foot ember resistant zone around properties. This is something that I've brought up before, but this is something that the insurance companies are really starting to enforce. So this is something that if there's trees that are up against the house or bushes that are really overgrown, a lot of insurance companies and even the fire departments, but it's mainly the insurance companies that are requiring those either bushes to be trimmed back, or in some cases they're asking to have them removed. And it's becoming the Arizona lawn. Everyone has lots of gravel, and in that 5-foot zone, that's something they're starting to really request, is having a 5-foot zone of gravel to be more fire resistant, right? So specifically AB 1455, this is the zone 0. So there's zone 1, which is the 30-foot zone from the property. Zone 0 is this 5-foot zone. And it's the defensible space part that we've talked a lot about with the fire hardening and defensible space form. This is something that they've gone additionally to add in so that your homeowners that are, especially in these high fire zones, but even properties that are close to the zones and not in the zone specifically, these insurance companies are really starting to request these remediations be done. So when you are going into a listing appointment, I always offer you can text me and send me the address, and I'll check if it's in the high or very high severity zone. And if you want to know if it's close, I can always tell you like how far it looks like it is. Someone the other day asked me in Monrovia, the property was not in the high fire zone, but it was about a block and a half from the fire zone. And so in that instance, those are those situations where you really want to have a conversation with the insurance carriers as soon as you get into escrow, or even before if you can. The other thing about it is that there's obviously a lot of people have trees that are not on their property, that are their neighbors' trees that hang into their property. This is where you have to make sure it's not a tagged tree. So if you guys know what those tagged trees are, it's like a silver coin with a number on it. Those are protected trees, and you cannot trim them without permission from the city. These are very, very protected. In some cases, people who trim them themselves have gotten very high fines, thousands of dollars in fines for trimming those trees specifically. So make sure it is not a tagged tree. And then I had somebody representing a buyer the other day where, in order to get insurance, they were requesting a tree that was on the property line to be removed. And in these cases, these are special cases, right? This is something that doesn't happen normally. You have to get permission since it wasn't solely on their property. You have to get permission from the neighbor as well. And this is where it can get into, in some cases, the the neighbors may not be comfortable with that. But again, in order for the home to sell and for the insurer to be able to provide insurance, which means also that affects the lender. And really, it affects all of us because we don't get paid on the NHD until escrow closes. So in these situations, this is why I always suggest order the NHD as soon as you get a listing. Find out if it's in a high fire zone if you're representing the buyer as soon as you look at a property. And then if it comes up with these situations where you have to negotiate with the neighbors on taking a tree out, these are the things that you want to do as soon as possible. Because if the neighbor doesn't want to pay for it, then your sellers are going to have to pay for it. And if it's the buyer and the buyer's insurance that is now requesting this, this is where it has to negotiate between essentially three parties. You have the neighbor, you have the seller, and now you have the buyer. And all three would have to negotiate a potential price. So again, these are the situations where you really need to make sure that you're doing this stuff ahead of time so that if you get to escrow, you're not sitting waiting for escrow to be able to close because you have to deal with the insurance issue, or if you have to deal with trimming back either a tree that's not on your property and having to negotiate with that neighbor. So again, these are things just to consider and think about. The earlier you get on it, just the better for you and your clients. And then this is another thing that within AB 1455. So the vegetation management ordinance, right? A lot of cities have these, not all cities do. This is something when it comes to the FHDS that I've talked about in the past. This is something that you have to find out. But with a vegetation management ordinance, requires the local agencies to address specific safety measures, such as removing these tree portions, right, within 10 feet of the chimneys and keeping roofs clear of flammable materials. So I've talked about this in the past. If you have a lot of leaves and debris that build up on that roof, that's where the fire department usually comes by and says, this property is not in compliance. You need to do the remediation so that we'll be able to clear it. But that's also the insurance companies. So again, when it comes to the NHD side, we're giving you the information as soon as you can so that if these things come up, these are all things that you can take care of, or your clients can take care of it so that you can get to escrow and have a smooth escrow. So that's AB 1455. There's some really great resources. If you go to CAL FIRE's website, they have a really good visualization. I actually use those in my presentation to show that 5-foot zone, that 30-foot zone, and then zone 2, which is 100 feet. Most properties, once you're at 100 feet, that's 3 neighbors down, right? So it doesn't always apply. So a lot of homes in the San Gabriel Valley, you have, a property that's 30 feet or less than 30 feet with the neighbor. And so these are obviously, it only affects the property, these zones, if it has, let's say 100 feet or 30 feet. A lot of that, if you see that out in like Lake Elsinore or Corona, those areas where people typically have a lot more land, that's where you're going to see they have these 100 feet zone that applies. But when it looks like the San Gabriel Valley, in most cases, you're already in your neighbor's yard by 30 feet. So the other thing I was going to talk about is just resources that First American NHD website has. Michelle, can you allow me to share?
Yes. Okay. Okay. Let me hang on. I'm trying to click on your picture to give you.
You're good.
1 second. Let me make you a co-host. Okay.
Perfect.
Got it. Okay.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys real quick let's see. Let me share the screen I want to show. Hold on. Okay. If not, Michelle, do you think you could just go to fanhd.com?
I can't because I think I'll lose the meeting.
Okay.
Let
You'll
me
lose the meeting.
let me
Okay.
try it and see if I can come out to the side. Let me try.
Okay.
What is it?
It's fanhd.com.
Okay.
And I was going to mention, any of you can go to this. So if you want to go and just hop on this while I'm going through this, or just save it in your computer, this is our website. And the other thing I was going to mention is anytime you log in to order a report or do anything like that, there's this thing called Eagle ID, and that Eagle ID works across all of the First American products. So if you're ordering a title, if you're ordering anything like that, you're going to go and use that same login. So once you have one login, it works across First American products. Michelle, if you can go to that where it's the 3 letters or 3 lines. Okay, go to resources and this electronic bookshelf. I think it was at the top. It's the first link.
Oh, you want me to click it? Okay.
Yeah, click on it. Yep, perfect. Okay, so this is something that I think is super beneficial for everybody to look into going onto our website and go into these different booklets. So you typically get the standard. You get the standard. I think if you go down a little bit, Michelle. Okay, yeah. The combined multi-hazard NHD book. This is something that you always get within an NHD report, but you can come to this outside of just the NHD getting sent this, and you can go through all of the different terms or different things within this book. And this is something that you could post about. So if you're looking at ways to talk about different topics, NHD, and especially when it comes to disclosing the fire information, that's typically what most people are talking about. But there's a lot of things like what we've talked about before, liquefaction zones, these different terms that people probably have no idea exist in California until they sell their home, get an NHD, and then typically they'll probably never look at the NHD ever again. That usually happens, but these are ways for you to just continue to provide information and stay top of mind. The other thing, if you go down to, it's that disclosure guide PDF, the disclosure guide, which we have in Chinese, Spanish, all of those. If you want to click on it, I've shown you guys this. I've brought them in person. This is just a guide to help people to go through the different terms within the NHD. So like I mentioned, liquefaction, those are in the NHD report, but this is just a nice little PDF that you can send people. So if they have questions about what is AB 38, right? It specifically states what these laws are, what they are pertaining to within the NHD. And like I said, the Chinese version is great for those clients that speak Chinese predominantly. We can't have the NHD report in Chinese because not everybody necessarily within the transaction, so the escrow or the lenders or anybody else who's going to be looking at that NHD report, it can't all be in Chinese. But again, you can use that NHD disclosure guide to go through with your Chinese clients and explain a lot of these different terms within the report. So that's a great one that you could literally post one little thing about, like it's say Assembly 38 this week. The next week, talk about the earthquake fault zones and what people can do to make their homes more resistant to earthquakes, retrofits, things like that. These are all things that you could spend 52 weeks talking about, right? You're not going to necessarily do that, but there's a lot of information in here. They just a quick little snippet, put it in your stories, then you can see who's looking at it. And it's just something that's different from what agents post and what agents talk about. So again, these are just different things that I like agents to look at just to see what different opportunities you can have with different information to provide to your clients or your potential clients. So if you go back, Michelle, I think you can just go back to, it's specifically clicked in there. So you can exit out of this, I think. If you go to the top, I think it's just go back to the resources tab. So just go to the other tab. You don't have to exit out necessarily. So the top left where it says orderform.fanhd on the top left, just like where it's like a different web page.
I don't see it. I'm sorry. I'm
top left. So keep going up and then to the left and up all the way to the top there. Perfect.
okay. Got it.
Yep.
Okay.
Just back to the resources tab.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. So all of these, again, are just different things. So talking about mold, moisture. I've even had people ask me about radon. That's something that is not typical. I've had it happen, but if you don't know what the radon detectors, some houses have it. If the property is on a on rocks typically. So that's usually where you see it, because radon can leach up into the house. And again, there's that consumer's guide to radon reduction. So all these different resources, these are just within our website, but the other ones that I mentioned was CAL FIRE's website. They have lots of really great videos that you can post on your you can just, I think in some cases they can also translate them to different languages. And then the other thing I've brought up before is that My Shake app. That's another one that goes straight to FEMA's resources. So that's ready.gov. Those are two that I really highly suggest that you save. And those are just another way for you to go and to provide these touches to your clients. Every time you speak with your clients, and this is something that an agent brought up to me recently, that every time he meets with someone, he doesn't talk about the real estate industry. Why? Because 9 out of 10 times, if they're your friend, they're probably going to bring it up themselves. And so when you create those relationships with people, obviously most people will talk about real estate in a transaction or outside of a transaction, just in speaking with people. So a lot of you probably were at Easter events, and I didn't even have to be there, and I guarantee there was at least one of you who spoke to somebody about real estate, and it was probably them asking, how's the market, right? That's always the question. So these are different things that you can talk about additional to that. So if someone's considering selling their house, that's a great time to really talk about, hey, do you know that there's some new things that you may want to consider when you're selling your house? And if that's, what you should do to trim your trees up and do those things ahead of time, or having the conversation about, now there are requirements that may be more difficult, right? If you're in a high fire zone, the requirements that insurance companies are now requiring, it's more difficult than the last time they probably sold. That's a great conversation to have, because it's within the realm of real estate, but it's not necessarily how's the market, how many homes are selling, right? Those typical standard questions that you may get. So these are things that you can add into your tool belt, your repertoire of things to talk about. And the other thing is that I'm always a resource. So if you don't feel comfortable talking about a certain topic with a client, you can always have them talk to me, right? That's something that I always offer, whether it's the FHDS form, if you don't feel comfortable walking through that form, or these different things about what's new with insurance companies and how disclosures really affect that. So the other thing that I was going to also mention is First American being one of the largest companies in our industry. And with that, and why I work for First American, is because all of these resources that we provide to you are free. And so that's something that you can always take any of these videos that we have, or these different guides, that you can take all that information. We give you full permission to use that. And the only thing we're asking is that you consider us to give us business, especially in the NHD side, where it's an unregulated industry. There's a lot of companies out there. But when it comes to the information that we have, if you didn't know, First American as a company, we invest billions of dollars into the data. So we actually have, interesting enough, on our campus, we have our data center and the data building. It's actually floating. It's a floating building. If you've ever seen those earthquake resistant buildings where they actually float and they're on big steel, they're like these steel rings. And I've actually taken a tour. It's really cool. This building can withstand, I think, up to 11 Richter scale earthquake. So most homes will be damaged at that point, and this building and the data is going to be safe. So that's what's so crazy about First American, and how much length that our company goes through to make sure that the data and information is safe, but also that data that we provide is accurate. So when it comes to E&O insurance, this is something that we talk about, but the most important thing when it comes to E&O is that we've never had to use it, because our data is always accurate. And anytime that you would potentially get into litigation over that, it would be because of information not being correct or providing information that's not relevant. And that's something that we really make sure that we're not providing. So an example I've seen is that some disclosure companies that are close to San Onofre will disclose that they are close to a nuclear facility. And in some cases, this is just third-party data that provides them this information, but the property could be 20 miles from San Onofre and they still disclose it. Those are the situations where you really don't want that information in a report because it's not accurate, and it could scare some buyers away because they're like, whoa, I don't want to be near a nuclear facility. I don't want to be, dealing with this. So this is something that we really make sure the data and the information we provide is as accurate as possible and relevant to the property. So another one with that is like a flood, the flood report. In some cases, they only use the data of what is coming from either the federal government or the state, and the city and county will actually go specifically onto the property. And in some cases, the structure of the property is not affected by the flood zone, but part of the property, which is lower, is in the flood zone. These are the situations where you really want to make sure that you're getting the most accurate information because that can affect insurance, right? So these are all things to consider and to really just know that I'm a resource for you guys. I'm always here. Anything that I can do to help you. We don't close and we can't get business unless you do business. So everything I can do to help you to get business, that's why I'm here.
Very good. Thank you so much. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Any question for Brendan? Or if not, then we'll go on with our meeting. All right.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you, Brendan. Now, as you know, that CLE Win class is in full blown in process now. Is going to be Wednesday at 10 o'clock for the next nine weeks. So for people who have attended the last week's session, this Wednesday will be the second session. But before that, you attend the second session, make sure you do the homework, okay? Because the homework is very important. You should go to the Lipset library and educate yourself with the material before you come to class. And as you know that your attendance mandatory, and you have to attend at least 80% of the classes in order to get the certificates. Well, hope to see you this Wednesday for people who has registered for the class, okay? And there will be no Friday training this week, right, Michelle?
That's correct.
Yeah, we're taking a day off. I mean, a week off for the training. So, any questions? Anyone who wants to pitch their listing or open houses or anything, the reduction in price? No? Okay. If not, then I'll go to my sharing today. I'm going to share with you about the listing agreement forms. Now, as you know, the first thing that when you get a property from the seller is that you have to sign a listing agreement, and that there are actually 5 forms that you have to be familiar with in order to know which is appropriate for you. Because in order to get commission, you better have the listing agreement properly signed. Otherwise, you might lose your commission. So there are 5 standard listing agreement forms that you should become familiar with. The first one is the residential listing agreement, which is the exclusive authorization and right to sell. And is listed as RLA in the CAR form. And the second one is the residential listing agreement with the seller reserve right to sell the property. The third one is a residential listing agreement, which is non-exclusive authorization to sell, meaning that anybody can sell and the property, you don't have the exclusive listing right on the property. The fourth one is the single party compensation agreement, which is convenient for you when the seller is selling on their own. You know, in other words, the seller wants to market their own property, but in case you want to you come with the buyer, you can come to get a commission from the seller. The fifth one is a commission agreement, which you should sign with the seller when you are either representing the seller or representing the buyer, and you want to get the commissions when you consummate the sale. Okay, now the first one, as I told you, is an exclusive listing agreement, which is the most comprehensive form that you can have for listing a property. Now this is, as the naming implies, is exclusive. That means only you are authorized to sell the property. Anybody else are not. So if there's somebody bringing a buyer, they have to go through you to go to the seller, and the seller will only pay commission to you instead of to any other person. So this is the most comprehensive right that you have for the selling of the property. Now, and this one has a maximum period of 24 months. In other words, you can only have a listing agreement lasting 24 months, but that's enough. 2 years listing agreement is awfully long. If you cannot sell it in 2 years, you might as well don't do it, right? And word of caution is that you don't want to have too short of a listing periods. Anything that's less than 3 months, that is a kind of a waste of time, because now the day on the market is like 33 days, and by the time you get it listed and then you get it marketing, if you had only three months to list the property, then the listing will expire and very soon. So 3 months is actually too short. I think the most optimum will be 6 months to a year. Okay, but nevertheless, this is the best residential listing agreement that you can sign with the seller. You have the exclusive right to sell his property. The second one is the residential listing agreement with the seller reserve. Now, this is exactly the same as the RLA, except that you have an additional paragraph, 3G, which states as this is an exclusive agency listing. Seller reserve the right to sell the property directly to a purchaser without any obligation to pay compensation to broker, unless otherwise specified in the paragraph 3C or elsewhere in writing. Meaning that the only difference between this listing agreement with the exclusive listing agreement is that the seller has reserved a right to sell the property on his own. Now, if he does that, then the broker will not be entitled to commission. This is a situation where the seller, if the seller wants to sell it to anybody that on his own resources, for example, they want to sell it to their relatives or their friends or anybody that they know directly, then this is the form that the seller can protect himself instead of paying the commission to the broker. The seller can sell the property to the buyers that he procure without paying commissions to the listing broker. That's the third one. Is actually well, before I go to the third one, what is it? What is the reason why we changed the name from RLAA to RLASR? Before we have the residential listing agreement agency, which is the form RLAA, which is essentially the same as RLASR, except that it's just the name change. The name change is just, I think it's more appropriately connote the idea that this is the that is sellers reserve the right to sell the property. So RLAA doesn't really tell you what this listing agreement is for. So it's not very intuitive. And the other reason is because in the California civil right, they kind of changed the terms, and they actually moved the code section 1087 to the Business and Professional Code 10018.16, and in an effort to clean up the real estate law section. So that's the only reason why. So it's actually the same thing, so you don't worry about it. The third one is the residential listing agreement, the non-exclusive. Now this is the agreement that you only get the commission when you procure the buyer to the seller. In other words, if the seller has their own buyer, or if the other broker has a buyer to present it to the seller, then the original listing broker will not get the commission. This is kind of a agreement that's kind of dangerous for the original broker, because the only time that you can get the commission is when you have your own buyer, and anybody else bringing a buyer, you're out of luck. You don't get the commission. So for all intentional purposes or practical purposes, you don't want to sign this kind of agreement. You always want to sign the exclusive listing agreement. But sometimes you have no choice, because the seller does not want to commit the whole thing to you. Either they don't want to trust you to market the property, or they want to maximize the chance of selling their own property through other resources. So, but nevertheless, this is the non-exclusive agreement that you can sign with the seller. But the fourth one is a single party compensation agreement. In the case that this is primarily when a buyer agent wants to get paid by the seller on a sale by owner. In other words, if the seller wants to sell it on their own, and they don't want to have any broker representing him, then this is the agreement they sign with the listing broker, and so that the listing broker can get commission when they procure or present the buyer to the seller. And this is only for specific property and for specific circumstances. So this is for limited purposes only. Now the fifth one is a commission agreement, which is a general commission agreement when you represent the buyer or represent the seller, and you want to ascertain what kind of commissions that you get from the buyer or seller, and as an agent representing them. So this is a more basic commission agreement, and it can be used for, in general, for all the situation with all the properties. It's not property specific. It's a bit general for all the properties that you procure for the seller. Now, often in the listing agreement, there's a protection clause. The protection clause is basically a clause that gives the listing broker the right to be compensated if the broker procure a prospective buyer to buy the property within a certain period of time. Now, the definition of prospective buyer is someone who physically enter the property and was shown the property, or someone for whom an offer was submitted to the seller during the listing period or any extension. So in other words, this clause says that if you produce a prospective buyer and before the expiration of the listing agreement, and for a certain period of time, if this prospective buyer come back and buy the property, then the listing broker will be entitled to the commissions. So this is a protection for the listing broker itself, so that you won't lose the prospective buyer to another broker or to somebody that come back and try to represent themselves or sue that directly approach the seller for the purchase of the property. So this is the protection for the original broker. Now, does the protection clause automatically apply? Of course not. Now, you have to activate it. You have to choose to incorporate that in the agreement. So first of all, you have to produce names of the prospective buyers and also specify a period where they apply. So, in other words, if the prospective buyer come back in within like 6 months or a year and buy the property, you are entitled to get a commission. But beyond that, you don't get the commission. So you have to activate it and specifically set so. Okay, and how about do you have to include the names on the protection list? Yeah, this is one of the criteria, one of the requirements, that you have to name the prospective buyer. So you have to give the names to the seller and make sure that they say, hey, this is the prospective buyers that I have shown the property and that this is the list I want to get protected on. So you must give the name and also the list, and also specify the time where the list is valid. Okay. Now, if the seller lists the property to another broker, would the list or original broker lose the commission? If you have the protection clause, the answer is no, because that is exactly what the protection clause is all about. You're telling the seller that, hey, I've shown this prospective buyer the property, and if they come back at a certain time, I want to be compensated because I did most of the work already to procure the buyer for you. So you don't lose the right if you activate the protection clause and do it properly. Okay, and how can a listing broker determine if the seller has previously listed a property for sale, and if so, if there's a protection list has been given to the seller? Well, this is the due diligence you have to do before you list any property. You have to ask the seller, well, have you given anybody any right to sell this property before? And if yes, and do you have a protection clause in it, or do you have a list of prospective buyers, or what I should be aware about? And this is due diligence to have to do, because the seller is not going to automatically tell you. And sometimes actually they want to cover up the information so that you can work for them exclusively, and then, or sometimes they don't even know that is important. So you have to do your due diligence. You have to ask whether it's a previous listing, whether it's a protection list, a clause in place, and whether they have the list of the prospective buyers. Now, what are some of the options available if the broker have a previous listing, and also if this property has previous listing and also have a protection clause? Well, then the listing broker, the new listing broker, which is the second broker, can have several options. Now they can list with the exclusion clause, and if they know exactly what the protection period is, and if they know exactly what the protection list of buyers that should be protected, and they can either wait until the period is over before they do the marketing or before they take the listing, or they can do whatever the previous arrangement with the original broker has with the seller. And also they can of course have a full right to decline the listing if they think it's not worth it and too much hassle. Then they can say, oh, I'm not gonna take this listing. I'd rather do something else. I cannot wait too long. And there's too many buyers that I have to contend with and be risking my commission on those protected or prospective buyers. Or then you can do a creative solution. You can do compromises. You can do a arrangement with the seller or and then find out a solution that is best for you. So before you take this kind of listing, well, you have to ask yourself what is the best option for you. Okay. Now, how about other restriction on the broker's ability to take the listing where the seller has been provided a list of protective buyers from a previous listing? Well, as you know that you have a fiduciary duty not to place the seller in a position where they have to pay more than one commission. So if you have a material fact or you have a material information that the seller has a protective clause or listed prospective buyers that they are excluded in their commission, then you should honor that. You should even though if the seller doesn't tell you, if you have the knowledge of it, you have the fiduciary duty not to get involved or not to endanger the seller to a double commission. So this is your fiduciary duty, and you should before you take the listing, you should do your due diligence in ensuring that this is the situation and that is best for you, and make sure that you have the best interest of the seller in mind. Okay. So that's all I have to share today. And anybody have any questions? Yeah, it's very important. I cannot emphasize that the importance of choosing the right listing agreement, because sometimes it's kind of tricky. If you have any question at all, make sure that you consult Michelle. Michelle have a lot of experience in this area, or you can come to talk to me. Okay. Any questions so far? Everybody's so quiet today. All right, Catherine,
Good
you have any question? You
Peter.
smile. I can see you're smiling. You have to unmute, Catherine.
I see. You can't see me smiling?
Yeah, I can see you smiling.
Okay.
It's a lot of info.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, there's a lot.
Yeah.
All right. If no questions, join the meeting, and I wish you a nice week. I'll see you next week, guys.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Wonderful.
Bye.
Well, I'm here for you. Take care. Have a great
Okay.
week.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Hey, bye.
Oh, I'm late.